Welcome to episode 2 of What If Civilization Started Over. Now, in the last episode, we had our red team up here, starting out down here in this area, unlike Ep2, who had his civilization start out right here and then expand upwards. We had ours start in Africa, right there, which they eventually expanded along the coast, trying to get some land. And then the North broke off, went to war with the South. Wow. It's completely opposite of the American Revolution. South broke off and went to war with the North. But yeah. And there was a government change that instead of expanding south, which the government had supported, they started supporting the expansion north, which they have expanded a lot north. An exploration map was made, so you can see how far things have expanded and explored. Sorry about that. The blue team down here was from the red team. People who did want to go south down here, but were forced to move out as they withdrew all their land so they could continue expanding north. Some people were like, nope, we're done with that, and decided to go down. This was the path that they took, and then they reached to where they wanted to be, and they just kind of stayed there. And now, for episode 2, we have... Also, in episode 1, we had a formation of the purple team. The formation of the green team was people who wanted to kind of just stay there. None of the governments, aka the only governments that were alive, were the blue and the red team. Knew that this was actually happening. So by the time that they did know, as they sent a message, as they were sending people like down here to try to get some of the old stuff that they had, they realized that there were actually still people living here, and some of the people even decided to stay here. And then this yellow team was like, South, you're not supporting us, so we're going to break away, form our own civilization, and if you try to stop us, we're going to go to war with you. And the green team was like, alright, you can break off, we don't want war. So they allowed the yellow team to go off and break away from them. And now we have kind of like a Cold War going on, where they're both threatening to go to war with one another, but neither of them really want to go to war. And we're seeing them both try to get as much land as possible in the most known areas as possible. And they send exploration groups out, making sure they don't go near any other territories that may be owned by the green team. And at this point, the yellow team has claimed a lot. And while that was happening, the green team also claimed a lot. I'm just going to color over this unclaimed area because this is how far they got. And then this is now what they are able to find out. I mean, half the time they were just going into unexplored territory to just try to find out what was going on. But the red team has also been expanding further north. Completely had forgot about the purple team, which was a new exploration, which was a exploration team from the red team, which the red team sent out to go east to try to see if there was more land that they could colonize. But they got lost around somewhere over here. So they just decided to go along the coast and eventually formed their own civilization. So, as the red team further explores north, they continue to go around and they find a lot of natural things like mountains, plains, and stuff like that. Plains like the open plains, not like planes that fly in the sky, by the way. Just had to make sure. And at this point, it's around the year 2200 in scientific stuff. It's not actually the year 2200 BCE, not 2200 AD. That's ahead of our time. But yeah, this is around 2200 BC in um research standpoints. And they now have ships that are able to travel short distances, like canoes that are able to travel from here to here exist now. So they colonize the entirety of Cyprus, and they start setting out to go over to try to explore this thing that they think is like an ocean. They think that, they know that this exists, a little inlet, but they think that after this, it just goes. They think after this, it just goes like out like this. They think it just goes like that, like an ocean. They don't think Europe exists. They don't think the west half of Africa exists. They don't think any of that. So they send out a shipping crew, which kind of goes like this to go out, and they claim naval superiority over all of this area, eventually reaching this island over here, which they completely colonize for the red team, and they think that, yep, it's just an ocean, because clearly there's no other land over here. So they go back, they decide that this is now naval area, the naval area. They don't actually send boats over here, they just claim that this is the area that the Navy claims. And they claim all of this area. You see, they don't actually know about all of these islands because they don't really have ships over here that have explored all this area. They just claim all of this. And they actually claim all of this, quote unquote, ocean over here and all of this ocean up here. They basically claim the entirety of that. But that, if we know that that's not actual ocean, they claim all of this. But yeah, and they start sending out ships to try to explore all of this. They explore this island, they explore a few of these islands, and then at this point they reach over here from a canoe that was trying to just find more of these islands that they could colonize. And they set up colonies on these, just saying. They set up colonies on these, eventually reaching up with the mainland, connecting all that. But they realized that maybe this isn't an ocean that they thought. And they start sending out more boats to go through, going along this. And they actually have boats here. So instead of thinking that it goes like that, they now know that it goes something like this. And they have now explored... They have now explored all of this coast. And they know all of this exists. So they start setting up little establishments, not really colonies, because they have actual people like moving there from here. They are actually like supporting it, trying to connect it up with the real things instead of just like leaving it there to basically fend for itself. But yeah, they set up a few colonies. Some of them are smaller than others. But yeah, they even set up a colony over here, not taking the entire Greek island because they don't really have enough manpower over here to do that. But yeah. They eventually reach the Navy over here, so they can have more people going there. But they choose not to. They say, you guys can expand if you want. And basically, yeah, we're not going to keep moving people over to you. And this is the first official colony of the red team. And if you're wondering why I've been focusing on the red team, basically throughout the entire video over here, is because there isn't really much happening in the other places. I mean, we know that there's a Cold War that has basically started where they're both threatening a war, but they aren't actually going to do it unless one attacks first. We know that's happening, but they've really stopped on their whole expansion thing. The blue team has started to expand a little bit more, even sending out their own boats into the ocean, trying to see what else is out there, as they also have boats now. But this is as far as they reach before they're like, alright, so this must be an ocean. I'm not gonna show like explored ocean areas because it's basically just their navy. The green team also now has a navy. Oh, that's really hard to see. And that's a little better. But yeah, they eventually reach throughout all of this area over here. And the yellow team also makes its own navy to try to counteract, because they're like, oh no, if they get a navy and they start invading us from the sea, that's not gonna happen. So they start making their own navy as well, going out into this. But unlike the green area, the green country, they aren't so close to this, so they can't reach over here as the green starts to establish their settlement over on this area, going all the way through. They just like claimed all this. They don't actually have any people here. They just want to stop the yellow team from taking it without going to war with them, which again, neither country wants this. And no other country has even gotten over here. So they're like, alright, we're going to start moving our people over here, but this is all our land. You can't have this. And I'm actually going to go over here and make this a little bit like more transparent-ish. I'm gonna cut this part out. Just kidding. Ha, losers. Thought. I'm not actually calling you a loser. I'm just saying it's not gonna happen. If you're wondering about this, all like this stuff over here, and like how did you get to this? It's all explained in the last video on what like happened, sorta, and how like this place started. Yeah, this is the known world so far, and the purple team has just the people are like, all right, all the other countries are like expanding way too much. We got to get on this, and they start moving out, trying to take more of this land. And they're like, alright, so this is pretty harsh land over here. We're just going to stick to the coast. And they do exactly that. Sticking over to the coast. God, I don't like that it keeps doing that. But yeah, they stick to the coast, going along the area, taking all this land. And they eventually take all of this, even making more naval landings over here. And they explore all this, and then people are like, all right, we've expanded enough to where we're not like the worst country off. That's definitely the blue team currently, if you're wondering. I mean, look at the blue team. It's definitely the smallest one. And for their navy, it's about like this. They control this entire sea area over here. And then they kind of go over like this. But at that point, they're just laying claims because their boats kind of can't get out to like this far. But they do like claim to all of this. And they start to explore all of this part. All of where their navy is actually able to go and where they've sent their explorers out. And soon, the green team's people have actually started moving over here, so they start exploring as well. And the yellow team's kind of like, alright, we want to stop this Cold War. We both aren't going to declare war on each other, and it's not going to neither of us want to really escalate this. We don't really have different beliefs. It's just the whole we broke away. And yeah, so the Cold War officially ends between these two. And yeah, the blue team starts to expand really rapidly. No one even knows how. The citizens are like, whoa, government, you're sending your military over there? That's unexpected. And their navy starts going out more, trying to expand a little bit more with the country. And now they're like, we've been trolling you guys. We didn't actually send any of our military there. We just sent a bunch of scouts that claimed all of that land. We don't actually have any of our military there. But we did find a bunch of lakes. So, yeah, we found a lot of lakes. Actually, 3 whole lakes. So if you want to move there, you can. And people are like, woo, this is a lot of fertile land. We're going to take all this. But a lot of people who decide not to move and decide to stay are actually like, we don't like how you're expanding so rapidly. And they actually decide to break off from this, even taking over all of this land. And they start pushing into the actual country, trying to take all of their land over to try to make them less isolationist, and actually start connecting with all these countries, which they stopped taking all the merchants from these countries because they want to stay over here alone. They don't want to get involved with any conflicts. And these people are like, we don't want to stay isolationist. We want to actually stay and be able to interact with all of our actual people. And they're moving very rapidly because a lot of the citizens actually support this idea. And they eventually reach the capital, which is about right there is the capital. And they eventually go right outside the capital's doorsteps and eventually encircle and take it, as the people inside the capital even decide to go all the way over to them. And eventually they just completely take them over. And they burn the capital city in protest of this. And they reform their country into a country that isn't isolationist. And they start moving some of their people outwards and upwards, which is something that the old thing was like, the older empire was like reluctant to do because they didn't want to get any land borders. And they eventually get a land border with the green country right as the yellow team gets a border with the red country. So now we have kind of like a trade network that's starting to form over here. And the red team is like, alright, I see that we're now lagging behind in expansion. And they start expanding further. I'm just gonna stop that because it's less clean. They don't actually go to war and take it. They just want it to be clean. But yeah, they start going over. They eventually connect some of these areas over here, but they eventually start pushing their. I don't know why I said start with It's like I started glitching out. I don't know what that was all about. But they eventually send all of their navy forces. They make even more naval forces going through this little Strait of Constantinople. You can't tell me it's Istanbul because it's not Istanbul. It's Constantinople. Doesn't deserve to be Istanbul. It's not Istanbul. And yeah, they start sending all their navy out. And you can definitely see a naval supremacy over all of these other countries. With the red team having such a large navy that if they wanted to, they could probably explore a lot of different territories, even getting further into Europe. which here's a quick recap on what the red team has just discovered. They've discovered the entire Greek peninsula. They've discovered the Strait of Istanbul. Yes, I called it Istanbul, even though I said it wasn't Istanbul. It's Istanbul, but I don't like it. They've discovered a lot of Turkey, but not all of it. They've discovered most of this land, this desert in Africa, as they have equipped their people with a lot of cloth covers, so they don't get burned to death in the deadly heat and frostbite-giving nights of the desert. And they've even started expanding further along into the desert, laying claim to a lot of land here. There we go. I don't know why that gray speck was still there. And there's definitely a few global superpowers. And these global superpowers, if you're wondering about the rankings, would probably be 1, red team, 2, blue team, 3 would probably be the green team, 4 purple team, and then last but not least, yellow team at 5th. Those are the global rankings right now because that's all the countries that are even a thing. So, yeah. And, they start expanding this colony over here, actually moving their settlers and saying, you're no longer a colony. Congrats, you're officially part of our empire. Sorry about that, I started dying. And, they expand, They expand further into the Greek peninsula, exploring a lot of it before stopping and saying, we need to settle in more of these islands so we can, be closer to the mainland. Even getting close to actually getting to the Strait of Constantinople or Istanbul, whichever one you want to call it. But not yet reaching it, because I'm pretty sure this is even a man-made thing. But this is if all humans disappeared, all things disappeared that were man-made, except for the lakes, oceans, stuff like that. Everything's the same as it was. It's just all industry, all damaged of the climate. CO2 levels have stopped rising. The ice age is still melted, stuff is still like that, but all the stuff from 1,000 years ago, 4,000, 5,000 even years ago, has gone back to that way. And the Strait of Constantinople is a thing. All natural resources have been replenished. And yeah. Which means all oil and uranium is still there. So we'll have to see how that goes later on in the series. But yeah, this is one of the longer ones in this series that's gone on so far. But yeah. This is the golden age of expansion, as there's a lot of population booming right now, as people have learned how to farm more efficiently. More people are farming so they can support a larger population with food. There's no real diseases that are plaguing the civilizations, and they have a lot of trade networks going along. The only country that's not really that has a lot of technology and stuff like that, but isn't really gaining a lot, was the purple team, which is this team right here, which branched off from the red team last episode, I think. I can't remember. I have a very bad memory. Which branched off from the red team, which was the number 1. Therefore, they have all the technology from the red team that they used for scouting, meaning they have been able to scout a lot. And a lot of food technologies. They know how to farm more efficiently. The country that knows how to farm the least is probably the blue team. They're more focused on like fishing and hunting and stuff. But these guys are like farm city. But yeah. Water. But yeah, that will end off today's episode. I've just showed you the power rankings. It's red team first, blue team second, green team third. Red team first, blue team second, purple team third, green team. Wait, no. Yeah, it's red team, then blue team, then green team, then purple team, then yellow team. Those are the rankings. Because the purple team still doesn't have any trade because they don't know where they are. And for all the other countries, they don't even know that this whole area exists. The red team only knows about like that much because the scouts from here were like, yep, there's more land over here. We're going to continue going this way. And then the scouts got like stopped over here because they couldn't find where they were, even though they told them to stop. So they came back and said, yep, nope, the scouts are lost. Probably dead. So they didn't try to send anyone else. But they are not dead. They just moved on. But yeah. So that's going to end it off for today's episode of What If Civilization Started Over. I will be making mini movies eventually, but just not right now. So I will see you all in the next episode. JJ Ricochet, out.